Chinedu, enough of your lies! Where is my son? I want nothing else but Daniel.
The day Amara stepped back into her family compound, everyone was happy to see her. Neighbors came outside, relatives welcomed her. After almost 8 years away, the daughter of the house had finally returned. She had left as a young woman with nothing but a dream. Now she was coming back with savings, gifts, and one question that had been on her mind every single day. Where is my son? Because the child she left behind was the reason she worked so hard. The child she cried for every night. The child she believed her family had protected. But what Amara discovered after returning home was something she never imagined. Years earlier, Amara's life was not easy. She became a mother when she was still trying to figure out her own future. The father of the child was no longer in her life, and with limited options, she made a painful decision.
I will care for him, Amara. I promise you.
She left her newborn son, Daniel, with her elder brother, Chinedu. Not because she didn't love her child, but because she believed family was the safest place for him. She promised herself, I will come back. I will build a better life for my son. Soon after, Amara traveled abroad. Everyone thought she was lucky, but nobody saw the struggle behind the pictures. The long working hours, the loneliness, the sacrifices. Every month, she sent money home. She believed the money was helping her son. She believed Daniel was growing up surrounded by love. She believed her brother was keeping his promise. But there was one thing Amara did not know. While she was building a future for her son, someone else was making decisions about his life. Decisions she never approved. Years passed. Then finally, Amara returned home. For Amara, coming back home was supposed to be the happiest moment of her life. After years of sacrifice, after years of waking up every morning knowing she was far away from the child she loved, she believed the hardest part was already over. She thought she would walk into that compound, see her son running toward her, hold him tightly, and finally tell him, "Your mother is back." But instead, she walked into a silence she could not understand. The first question she asked her brother was simple.
Chinedu, where is Daniel? Why haven't I seen him around?
Daniel? He's fine. You'll see him soon.
Chinedu, where is my son? For a few seconds, there was no answer, just silence. Then he replied, "He's not around." Amara looked confused. What do you mean he's not around? Where is he? Her brother gave another answer. He's staying somewhere else. Where? Don't worry, I will take you there. But days passed, and that visit never happened. Every time Amara asked about Daniel, there was another excuse. He traveled, he's in school, he's with someone. Different answers, different stories. But one thing remained the same. She still could not see her child. And that was the moment Amara started feeling something was wrong. Because a mother can understand many things, but not being able to find her own child, that is a pain words cannot explain. She began searching everywhere. She visited people who knew the family. She asked old neighbors. She contacted anyone who might have information. She even went to authorities to report the disappearance. She was not looking for trouble. She was looking for her son.
Your brother knows more about your son than he is telling you.
Chinedu, enough of your lies! Where is my son? I want nothing else but Daniel.
The child she had worked years to provide for. But the more she searched, the more questions appeared. People in the community started whispering, "Where is the boy? Why has nobody seen him? Why is Chinedu avoiding the questions?"
Guy, how far your sister picking?
Don't mind my sister, she's just stressed the child is in school. At least call the teachers now. Sure.
Meanwhile, Chinedu continued acting like everything was normal. He told people not to worry. He told them Amara was just being emotional. He tried to make it look like there was no problem.
This girl is becoming something else. With the rate she's searching for this boy, I'll definitely be in trouble.
Chinedu, why placing this old building? Is this where Daniel is?
Amara, this is the easiest path to get to his school. Stop asking questions, let's go.
Inside the family, someone else was suffering. Their mother. Amara and Chinedu's mother could not understand what was happening. One day her daughter returned from abroad. Everyone was happy. Then, suddenly, nobody could find her. She asked her son, "Where is your sister?"
Chinedu, where is your sister?
Mama, she has gone back. Her workplace called her to return urgently.
And she didn't tell me before going?
It was urgent, Mama. Hopefully she'll call.
The answer shocked her. She got a call from her workplace. They needed her back immediately. The mother became confused. She traveled again? Without telling me? Without coming to say goodbye? It did not make sense. A daughter who waited years to return would suddenly leave without informing her own mother? But the most painful part was this. Everyone believed the story. Because Chinedu had already created an explanation, a story that made people stop asking questions. Months passed, then a year. The community moved on. People assumed Amara had returned abroad. Some said maybe her work called her back. Others said she probably had no choice. Nobody knew that the truth was completely different. Behind closed doors, Amara was still there, trapped away from the people who were searching for her. And the person who was telling everyone she had traveled was the same person who knew where she was. But before everything happened, there was another secret Chinedu was hiding. The secret about Daniel. According to the story that later unfolded during investigation, money had been sent from abroad. Money meant for Daniel's future. School, savings, a better life. Amara believed she was building something for her son, but questions began to emerge about how that money was handled. Chinedu was living a life that did not match the responsibility he had accepted. People noticed changes, the spending, the lifestyle, the way money disappeared. And according to the investigation narrative, this was where the darkest part of the story began. A child who was supposed to have a future, a mother who believed her son was safe, and a family member who allegedly knew more than he admitted. Because when Amara refused to stop searching, when she refused to accept the answers she was being given, Chinedu realized something. If she continued asking questions, the truth would eventually come out. Their father's old unfinished building stood quietly in the area, a place that had been abandoned for years, a structure that was supposed to become a family home. But after their father passed away, nobody completed it. It became forgotten, empty, silent. And according to the story, that forgotten place became connected to the biggest mystery in the family. A place where nobody expected anyone to be. A place where no one was looking. Because while the community believed Amara had traveled back abroad, she was actually somewhere close, waiting, hoping, wondering if anyone would ever find her.
Oh, the sun is shining bright today, washing all my clothes.
Nobody knew that behind those unfinished walls, someone was still inside. That day started like every normal day. A neighbor was washing clothes. After she finished, she carried the dirty water outside to dispose it near the bush close to the abandoned building. She was not looking for anything. She was not expecting anything. She was just doing her normal routine until she heard it. A sound. A strange sound. At first, she ignored it. Maybe it was an animal. Maybe it was something else. But then she heard it again. Louder. Clearer. A noise coming from inside the building. She stopped because something inside her told her something is wrong. Slowly, she moved closer. She stood near the window. She listened carefully, and what she heard shocked her. There was someone inside, someone making sounds, someone trying to get attention. Fear immediately entered her heart. She ran back towards the compound. Chinedu!
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 She called his name repeatedly, but there was no answer. The compound was quiet. Nobody was there. Chinedu was not around. His mother was also away. She had gone to the farm that morning. The person who could explain what was happening was nowhere to be found. The neighbor became more worried. She quickly called other people around. Come and hear this. There is something inside that building. Someone is there. One by one, people came closer. They listened, and then they heard it too. The noise was real. It was not imagination. It was not an animal. There was a human being inside. The community became confused. Who could be inside that abandoned building? Why would someone be there? And why was nobody aware? One neighbor finally said, "We cannot handle this ourselves. Let us go to the police." They rushed to the station. They explained everything. The strange sounds, the abandoned building, the possibility that someone was trapped inside. Immediately, officers followed them back. But while the police were on their way, someone had already gone to look for Chinedu. Chinedu was sitting with his friends at a local spot. Everything seemed normal. He was talking, relaxing, like nothing was happening. Until someone approached him.
You need to come home. The police
Chinedu,
are at your house.
you need to come home. The police are at your house. They said they heard someone inside the old building. The moment he heard those words, something changed. Before the person could even finish explaining, Chinedu stood up. He ran. He ran towards the compound. But as he got closer, he saw something that made him panic. The police were already there, walking towards the unfinished building. Chinedu rushed towards them. "Where are you going? What are you doing here?" The officers explained, "We received a report that someone may be trapped inside this building." But Chinedu refused. He stood in their way. "No, you cannot enter. There is nobody there. You cannot just come inside." The officers became suspicious. Because if there truly was nobody inside, why was he so desperate to stop them? They tried to move forward, but Chinedu continued resisting. The situation became tense. Eventually, officers restrained him and moved him aside. Then they opened the building, and what they saw, nobody was prepared for. Inside that dark, abandoned place was Amara, the woman everyone thought had traveled abroad, the woman her own mother thought had left again, the woman the community had stopped searching for. For a moment, nobody spoke. Everyone was frozen. Neighbors screamed. Some covered their mouths in shock. Others started crying. How? How did she get here? Who did this to her? Then suddenly, someone arrived. It was Amara's mother returning from the farm. She saw the crowd. She wondered what was happening. Why is everybody here? What happened? Then she saw her daughter. Her voice broke. "Amara, Amara, my daughter. Abroad, Obodo abroad. You went abroad and came back like this? Who did this to you? Who did this to you?" But Amara could barely respond. She was too weak, She couldn't explain. She was only there, looking at the people around her, finally rescued. After all the lies, after all the unanswered questions, after all the months of searching, the truth was finally standing in front of everyone. But the biggest question remained: why? An ambulance was called. Amara was carefully carried out. The same woman who came home with dreams of seeing her son was now being carried away for medical help. At the hospital, doctors immediately began treatment. They were shocked by her condition. She needed urgent care. Her body had suffered. Her mind had suffered. And while Amara fought to recover, police began a deeper investigation. The questions that had no answers for months were finally being asked. Where was Daniel? What really happened inside that family? And how long had this secret been hidden?
For the first few days after Amara was rescued, nobody knew what to say. The community that once believed she had traveled back abroad was now standing face to face with the truth. The woman they thought was thousands of miles away was actually suffering silently in a place close to home. At the hospital, doctors focused on one thing: keeping Amara alive. Her body was weak. Her mind was exhausted. She had gone through something that nobody should ever experience. But slowly, day by day, she began to recover. She started eating. She started responding. She started remembering. The police knew they could not rush her because Amara was not just a victim. She was the person who could finally explain what happened behind that locked door. After several days, investigators visited her. They asked gently, "Amara, can you tell us what happened?" At first, she remained quiet. She looked down. The memories were painful. The betrayal was painful. The person who caused her pain was someone she trusted, someone she called brother. Then, slowly, she began to speak. Her voice was weak, but every word carried years of pain. She explained how she came back home with one dream: to see her son, to hold him, to finally continue the life she had paused. But instead, she met confusion, questions, and lies. She told them about the different answers she received, how every time she asked about Daniel, there was always another excuse. How she searched, how she reported the matter, how she refused to stop looking. Because a mother's heart does not give up easily. And then she explained what happened after Chinedu realized she would not stop. She explained how everything changed, how the person she trusted became the person she feared. But the question that shocked everyone was not only, why was Amara locked away? The bigger question was, what happened to Daniel? The child she crossed oceans for, the child whose future she sacrificed everything for. Police investigations became deeper. They started looking into the money Amara had been sending from abroad. Money meant for her son's education. Money meant for his future. Money meant to create a better life for the child she loved. As investigators searched, another painful truth started coming out. Questions were raised about how the money was used, the lifestyle around Chinedu, the spending, the choices he made. Everything began painting a different picture from the one Amara believed. And then came the most painful revelation: the truth about Daniel. According to the investigation, the child Amara had been searching for was not alive. The discovery broke everyone. A mother who spent years believing her son was waiting for her was forced to face a reality she never imagined. Amara collapsed emotionally because the pain was no longer just about being trapped. It was about realizing that the reason she fought so hard, the reason she survived, was gone. The community that once went quiet was now filled with sadness. People who thought Amara had traveled abroad realized they had been living beside a tragedy. A grandmother who spent months wondering where her daughter was now had to face another heartbreaking truth. She had lost her grandchild, and the person responsible was her own son. Chinedu was arrested. The evidence gathered during the investigation was presented. The case moved forward. The family that once looked normal was now sitting in a courtroom. Inside that courtroom, there was no happiness, no winner, only pain. Because no matter what happened, a family had already been destroyed. The court proceedings continued. After the investigation and trial, Chinedu was found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment. When the judgment was announced, his mother sat silently. She did not celebrate. She did not feel relief. She was a mother caught between two impossible feelings. She lost her grandchild, a child who never got the chance to grow, a child she loved, a child she would never see again. But she also lost her son, the same son she gave birth to, the same son she once protected, the same son she never imagined would bring such pain. People asked her, "Will you visit him?" But she could not answer. How could she comfort someone who caused so much suffering? How could she hate someone who was still her child? She was trapped between love and heartbreak, between motherhood and anger, between forgiveness and pain. For Amara, nothing was the same anymore. The place she once called home became a place filled with memories she wanted to escape. The family name that once meant safety now reminded her of everything she lost. After recovering, Amara made a decision. She would leave. She would return to the place where she had built a life before. Not because she forgot Daniel. Never. A mother never forgets her child. But because she needed to survive. She needed a new beginning. She packed her things quietly. She looked around the house one last time. The same place where she once dreamed of happiness. The same place where everything changed. And then she left, carrying pain, carrying memories, but also carrying the strength of someone who survived what was meant to break her. Years later, people in the community still remembered Amara's story, not just because of what happened, but because it reminded everyone of something important. Sometimes, the people closest to us can hurt us the most. That is why love must always come with honesty. Family is not just about sharing blood. Family is about protecting each other, caring for each other, and doing what is right, even when nobody is watching. A person's suffering can remain hidden behind a smile. A person can be crying for help while the world thinks everything is fine. So we must pay attention. We must care. We must not ignore signs. Because sometimes, one person listening, one person asking questions, one person choosing to act can save a life.